What's up, sexy people of the internet? It is Dave, it is Duncan, it is Ross, back from Metal Epidemic. Ladies and gents,
This is an audiobook about planting bad.
Audible.
What is that voice?
what is it?
You've never been like that.
That's my sexy voice.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
fair.
You get much?
Well, we'll find out at the end of this month.
You better add like fucking at least, like you better drop that tone at least 1 octave.
All
You
right.
know what I mean? And get a bit of gruff. Get some of that street talk.
Bit of
that the kids
Spanish.
do. You know, where they say slay. I don't know what it means, but a couple of clicks and a slay, you know what I mean? You're in, Dave. You're in.
Okay, I'll try that.
I'm sure that's what that means. I still try to work out what slay means. The same way I was confused when everyone started using the word fleek,
Oh yeah,
and I didn't know what that meant either.
we just
So,
started using it for everything.
Yeah, you were literally like this album's fleek. Like the guy didn't deliver my parcel. That's fleek. Like didn't know. We were like, if we use it for everything, eventually it'll connect and be right. So, but yeah, slay. There we go.
Welcome back to part 2 of our top 10 of 2024 so far. On this episode, we will be chatting from about our number 5 picks down through to our number 1 picks.
Serious part of the list.
Yeah.
Forget that other video once you've watched it. But watch it a couple of times, boost the numbers. Then
Like,
forget
share.
about it. Like, share, subscribe, ding the bell. I don't know. I've seen
People
a few
still ding the
videos
bell?
where
I don't know.
I think it's supposed to. Well, I think you're supposed to tell people to ding the bell,
All right, am
and
I?
that way they get a
Yeah.
notification when a new video goes up.
Right. Ding the bell, people. It's
They
it's,
don't.
it's Fleek. Fleek the bell.
Flick the bell.
You're like that sounds like what's happening to you when you go on the holiday. Eh? Like that right in there, huh? Yeah, pain and pleasure.
Gee, you wee pigeonhole.
It's been a week since we recorded, and that joke's still fresh. So there we go. I don't know what we're doing. It's
Still
messy.
Fleek. Still Fleek. Right, anyway. Let's chat about number 5. So, number,
Oh, no.
number 5.
I did it.
My number 5 pick is from another band that I feel are just massively overlooked.
Oh, Dave. Just say it.
So many of them.
Preach.
We've reviewed a couple of their albums,
Mhm.
but their latest album is just outstanding. My number 5 is from none other than Gothenburg metalcore workhorses Grayscale Season. The new album, Feel Something New, was released on March 8th, self-released.
Yes, it was.
Nice.
So, yeah, we've spoken in the past a couple of times about how underrated this band are. The fact they are on album number 4 and are still self-releasing albums is kind of mind-blowing. We've discussed this off air, on air. How this band are not signed
With the bass player.
yeah. We had a 2-hour conversation.
A 2-hour conversation, which you can find on the YouTube page where we go in depth. But we are kind of boggled by this one. It doesn't really make any sense at all at this stage.
It just sounds like this band should be on a massive label right now. They could honestly wipe the floor with a number of big metalcore bands that are signed to well-known labels. This album is their shortest album to date, just over 27 minutes in length. But I didn't find that a negative about this album at all, because for me this album is basically stripped of any kind of excess fat, and Grayscale Season have given you basically 8 absolute bangers on this album. It is an album without any weakness, any miscalculations with the band. It delivers on every single front. If you like bands like Deftones, Loathe, Humanity's Last Breath, even the Acacia Strain to an extent, then look no further than these guys, because they have all the elements of those bands, but with a a huge dose of their own personality all over this album. They give you everything on this release. You've got just crushingly heavy, down-tuned, groovy guitars. It's catchy, it's dreamy, it's got moments that are really profound, and it's produced in a way that kind of delivers these tracks with all the power of a nuclear war. Vocally, though, it's chef's kiss good. This is like two different vocalists. So you've got a kind of main vocalist doing all the kind of heavier parts, and then you've got the bassist Adam, who we had on the podcast and chatted with, as I said, doing all the clean vocals. And the combination between those two vocals, the tones, the kind of darkness and light between the two of those, just absolute perfect chemistry on this album. The hooks are fantastic, but the heavy stuff is also just as impactful as well. I love this album. I've spun this. It's probably one of my most listened to albums. I feel like it's the best thing they've done to date by a mile. It's the most kind of compact and distilled version of Grayscale Season we've heard so far. And for me, these guys could be Gothenburg's best kept secret, to be honest. I love this album. Feel Something New by Grayscale Season is my number 5 pick, self-released by the band on March 8th. Ross, what are you going for on your number 5 pick?
We're rootin' tootin', boys. We're rootin' tootin'. My number 5 is Yours Until the War Is Over by Amigo the Devil. You want some country, boys? We got some country. This album opens
Where
like...
is he going with this?
This
off the
album
rails right now.
opens like you're a fucking cowboy pirate. It sounds like something that'd be in the game Sea of Thieves or in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but you just know some sad countries never far away.
I've never
This
heard
album
of this, but
is...
I've now saved it.
We're literally
so good.
Googling right now.
It was the Liars Club is who released it. Not a label that I'm overly familiar with, but this album is so good. My thing with Amigo the Devil has always been it's just a masterclass in storytelling, and that's exactly what this is. It's very
absolutely.
The artwork's brilliant. So I first got into him because his first 3 albums were produced by Ross Robinson. This is the first one.
You've got us in. Got us in. See, that's
so this is the first one that isn't produced by Ross Robinson. This is self-produced.
I am instantly out.
But it's just there's a whole the first opening run is very fun, uplifting country. Then there's a song that's about doing slugs of ketamine and going down to hell, drinking wine with the devil, and going up to heaven to kill God.
Back in. See, that's who you get me back in.
It's
like the hokey cokey here, man. I'm 10 steps away from shaking it all about.
It's like Dave on his holiday, in and out. There's just songs about Texas and being a cowboy, and then there's really heartfelt, heartbreaking moments. There's a song called The Garden of Leaving, which is about him and the keyboard player who's his wife having a miscarriage and stuff like that. So it really, really pulls on your heartstrings. But then only a song away will be a song about how good it is to have a dog, or playing bingo on a Tuesday. It's
pretty good to have a dog.
So like it really just covers like his big song is about being really good at bingo. Yeah, that was on the last album. It's called Murder at the Bingo Hall, and it's about how people in bingo hall are scared of him because he's so good at bingo. Like it's just, but his story is told with so much heart. Nothing feels like fucking Ailstorm or Steel Panther. It doesn't feel like a parody. Like it's so sincere and so heartfelt. The first kind of 2 albums are mostly just him and either like piano or banjo or whatever, whereas now it's a full band. He has like his wife playing keys and she's also a percussionist, and there's a lead guitarist now and stuff like that as well. I think the full band sound really suits him. I just went to see him in Slay last week, and the crowd was in the palm of his hand the entire time. He was adding songs into the set list that weren't on it when I looked up before because the crowd was just going so nuts. Yeah, he's like, the last time I played here, this was the biggest song, and we're not even playing it on this tour, but we're playing it in Glasgow. And yeah, a song about how a girl he fancied got married and then her husband died and he pumped her. So that's the sort of stuff that he sings about. It's just so on the nose. It's incredible.
before she died or after she died? There's a distinction here where we can.
Played the song for the two of them.
Yep.
And then not long after, the husband did die, and he did in fact bump her. It's just, as I said, it's just beautiful. It's fun. It's so heartfelt, but also heartbreaking. Yeah. Years until the war's over.
This recording
It's
just go away and do this album, right?
It's fucking great. Like, honestly, all of his records are fucking brilliant, especially the Ross Robinson ones, in my opinion. But yeah, Amigo the Devil is that guy, and people need to. I don't even like country, so I wouldn't be, if you're listening to this and you're like that, thinking you're not a country fan. It's not that kind of overly country satire kind of, oh, look at my boots and my tractor. It's just, it's really heartfelt and it'll punch you in every way possible. Amigo the Devil, so good.
I mean,
nice. Duncan, how can you follow that up? Number 5.
I can't fucking follow that up. Also, I want to say, like, he's just throwing at Ross Robinson. Right, Ross, you weren't even born when I was listening to fucking Korn's debut album. Like, you weren't even on the, you weren't even a fucking, like, a stain on your daddy's pants. Like, I'd like, you know what I mean? And I wasn't even an idea in his mind. Me and Ross Ross Robinson go way back, right? Way back. Guy. You just casually throw his name out there as a guy just producing albums that I'm not aware of, and it makes me want to punch myself for not knowing that they existed. And also hate Dave, because Dave's the guy you're the fucking finger on the pulse, man. You know what I think? You've been slacking too much of that
music.
I would say no for country.
Aye, but it's country pirate. Like, which that's country you're going to pirate you like even less. I can feel like
it's only the one pirate song. Only the one pirate song.
Okay.
Well, that's usually too much for Dave. Like if someone, like Dave's 2 seconds away from, if someone holds the letter R too long, he's out the door. You know what I mean? Doesn't do rolling R's. It's like, fuck this pirate shit. It's fucking, it's a Davy-shaped hole in the wall. Behind it. Number 5 for me, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're doing it again at fucking Twinsies.
Oh my god.
Number 5 for me is Grave School Season. It is a little bit of something new, which I wanted to when I listened to this album, and it gave me. We do love this band because I kind of feel like everything you get from them is about as honest as the band can give you. It kind of feels like there isn't much in the way, because they're self-releasing it as well. There ain't a huge amount of fuckery there. It's like what the band wants to write. They sit down with their exceptional producer, one Mr. Buster, who, I mean, his name is Buster. Don't follow that guy. And it comes straight out, and it is punishingly heavy and beautiful. And this album was, I think, the one where they captured that combination of beauty and heavy to a next level. We had like too much time with Adam, so much so that he's not been back. He will be back, but he's not been back since. And what we found in chatting to him is you can actually track a lot of their influences in their sound without knowing their influences in their sound. Like when we chatted to him, one of the big things, he was like, "Oh, I'm totally into new metal." And I was like, "Are you though?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love POD." And I was like, "Do you though?" And I listened back to some Feel Something New, and I was like, it's kind of in there in those huge melody sections.
Yeah. Like
those bits that start to soar over it. That to me is very new. Like that is the new metal chorus. And they have it in there. What I love about it is I think as a band, they pushed themselves this time around. So not only in the instrumentation, like the use of synths specifically in the background. The synths are used exquisitely on this because they are purely to lift things, are precursors to melodies that will come later. But the piano sections that come out in like tracks like Delude, for example, which are just like, and when we hear them, when we hear it, like, we're like that, a lot of thought must have went into that. And he's like, well, I can't read music and I can't play piano, so I just kind of sat in front of my piano and just like ding some notes, and then I gave it to a professional pianist who recorded it on the day. And we're like, yeah, there's a whole bit that skipped on how that sounds so good. Then I just did it, you know. To me, it's music's in their heart, and it comes out very much like what Dave was saying. I think anyone that listens to the band would agree. They kind of feel like at this stage, it's almost criminal that they aren't on a label. And I kind of feel like I'm hoping that they either have or are about to open for Better Lovers. I'm kind of hoping, because of who Better Lovers are signed to, and where that thing's coming. I'm kind of hoping that they get picked up off the back of that. I think there's that it's a label. We can't go into too much detail, but it's a label that we mentioned before would be perfect fit. Listen to the whole conversation. 2 hours. It's great. But I do feel like they're on the precipice of something huge, and I do feel so because I hear other bands that get so much airtime that are not half as memorable,
especially in that genre.
Yeah, just like not even a patch on it. Even from that Buster himself has a label that specialises kind of in an adjacent genre of bands that sound almost interchangeable with our Sims. And then I hear the care and consideration he brings to the Grayscale season thing, which makes me appreciate him more as a producer, but also that kind of simpatico between band and producer that is drawn from there. They've said themselves they'll never go anywhere else. That's their guy because they feel so comfortable and he brings that sound out of them. It's incredible. It's self-produced. Once again, everything you spend on that band is going straight to that band, so there's no fucking excuse not to. And first and foremost, I've never been in a conversation with a signed musician where their interest is more in me than it is in them. And I don't know if that's because he was hiding secrets, Dave, maybe, or if they genuinely are interested. But music is the great equalizer. It's the thing that unites us in this genre, and they're a great example of that. Yeah, do yourself a favour, take a bit of time, and not a lot of time. It's under 30 minutes. Grayscale season. Feel something new, self-released. It's my number 5 as well.
Sexual.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Number 4.
Oh dear. It's getting hard.
Oh, number 4.
What are you doing?
2024 has been a bit of a year for duos, Duncan. And we all know
all the duos this year.
I fucking love a duo.
You do love a duo.
Love a duo.
Except when Ross is here. And then it's an acceptable trio.
Yeah. There's something in the chemistry of a duo that just, for me, you don't get with a 4 or 5 piece band. And the next entry into my list is a little duo from Belgium called Zencastr.
So close I was so fucking close.
Quite close. With their new album Year 2, which was released on March 8th. It came out on 45 Records, but that technically is the band's label, so it is kind of self-released as well.
It's 100% self-released, so I class it self-released.
Also, I've got this little motherfucker right here.
Like when Ross was talking about all this stuff earlier on and visiting their site and all the rest, we should probably say, not that we seek it from bands, but after the review went live, the band were very generous and reached out, and Dave got a wee vinyl and I got a wee CD.
Yep.
You didn't have to do
very
that.
Sweet.
Also got a wee handwritten note as well.
We both got handwritten notes. Yeah.
Oh my God,
which was very nice. Just telling us how appreciative they were, and they're going to give us hand jobs when we see them, and just it was really
they're
nice.
coming over there, not?
Yeah,
but they're up in the gas.
They are supporting Alcest.
You fucking tell me it's happening between August and fucking November. I'm out of here.
If I remember correctly, it's them and Svalbard supporting.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
December, please say the word I'm looking for.
I think it is December.
I actually think it's December.
December?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Perfect. Yes. We're going to get drunk with them. And get handies, which they never offered us. There's no handy in there. Unless we got different notes. Different notes. Like there's Tipex on your one. You fucking Tipex.
Okay.
Handy.
So yeah, my number 4, the sophomore album from Zencastr, which also features members of Amenra, if you've heard of them, a Belgian post-metal band. Fucking hell, this album, man, it is just one of the most sonically crushing albums that I heard in 2024. Like, so imposing, it's ridiculous. And that sound comes from two guys. Like, we're talking two fucking guys here. Also, no guitars. There's not a guitarist in this band. Like, what the fuck? There's a bassist and a drummer. There is no guitars on this album.
Heaviest bass.
How does that even, like, how? I don't even know. It's yeah, it's like as Ross mentioned earlier on the previous video, it's like a sludge meets new metal meets industrial, a little smidge of grimy hip hop in there as well. It's just like this fucking multi-genre album. And it is really, it's like a very difficult one to pigeonhole, because there's so many so many genres at play here. Very diverse, very experimental, but an album that I continually found new things to like about on each listen. Like there was just something new that would kind of show itself to me that I never heard the first time round. And because of that, it feels like an album that doesn't really like overly repeat itself either. Like it's not a predictable album at all. I was not sure what was coming from track to track. They use like a similar technique on some of the tracks and the way they kind of build up. But the kind of climax of those moments on the tracks are always different. You know, like sometimes they drop into something that's into kind of post-metal territory, or they go into like a slowed down, sludgy new metal riff, like on the sheer horror of Human Condition. Or sometimes they'll just go like electronic or full industrial and just, you know, cut the bass altogether. But it never hits with any less impact when they do that. It's still just crushingly heavy. But that heaviness, I still can't get my head around it as bass. Like I just like when I hear it, I'm like, what? How? I kind of love what they've done on this release. You can hear the kind of involvement from year one, that they've expanded on everything on this one. You know, that it's more dynamic, it's more extreme. They've gone with more different moods. It's more dramatic in places as well, and the production, which is done by the band, is fucking colossal. Like absolutely stunning production. It's one of those albums that is very unique. Like I guarantee you won't hear another album that sounds like this in 2024. Absolutely brilliant album. Dödseskader and Year 2, which came out on 45 Records, is my number 4.
Nice.
Ross, what you got at number 4?
I have got an album that's already been spoken about, actually. This is
wow.
the first... Oh, that's 2 back-to-back albums that I've had. Now, with Dödseskader and then now this one. It is Twin Flames by Gallo.
I fucking want to hug you right now and maybe marginally squeeze your man tit.
You want to talk about some of the biggest choruses of this year? You want to talk about them? That's what this album is. Even, I've got the track list in front of me here, and just scrolling through it, I'm reading the names of the song, and they're immediately coming into my head.
You're singing the lyric. Yeah,
Leave Me Alone in my head. Go down. Die by Your Hand has such a pop, a colour when that chorus hits in.
Yeah.
It's actually insane. Like, this does not sound like anything I've ever heard from Sumerian Records. Like, I can't believe this is where this band have found their home. And it's kind of, you alluded to it earlier, Duncan, I've not seen that much fanfare over it. I don't understand how. It's just, it must not be getting in front of people. And even when you look at the top 10 songs on Spotify, there's only one song from this album in his top 10, which is mental. The choruses on this, like, if you're into like kind of synthy or, like you said, the Smiths or the Cure or Depeche Mode, I could see how you could love this. But if you're into like Little Peep, I don't understand how those people could also not like this. It's such a weird, like, it's so multi-genre in its kind of style. Like we said earlier, like, could you imagine them on tour with Creeper or Twin Tempo or one of these sorts of bands? Like,
every band,
everyone, get them on with Alcest. Fuck it, why not? Like, it's such a party vibe to it, but it's like that party's in a graveyard. Like when you're underage drinking in graveyards when you were 15, this was the sort of tunes that would be playing in my head. And it's got a kind of 8-bit feel to it at points as well. Like, it's just, the production's immaculate as well. Like, this is just the best thing I can say about this album, which is just a collection of great songs. Like, every time you go back to it, I had like maybe 3 or 4 songs to my kind of daily playlist, and then now there's like 6 or 7 songs from it in that playlist. And when I was originally writing my list, I didn't actually think this was going to be in the top 5 until I listened to all the albums, and now I've bumped it up to here. It's just, yeah, if more people got their eyes on Gallo, this band could really, really take off, because I don't understand how you can like this. It's just so much fun. There's a bit of everything. There's like It's very electronic, but there's still like dirt there, like the kind of bass tone that kind of drives every song is filthy. Like it's really, it's not skimping on the heavy elements while still also just being the soundtrack to a fucking party. Yeah, I love this album. So shout out Twin Flames by Gallo.
So happy. So happy.
Nice. Duncan, number 4.
So, like, I knew nothing about this band.
Oh.
There was no, like, background. There was no nothing. And it came in as a stream. I fucking hate streams. Right?
Right.
Please give us streams, though. We still want to hear the albums, but it's like there's a wee MP3. There's no need. It's 2024. What are we doing? There's the technology out there that will be able to capture a stream and still put it online for people to listen to. So it's a futile purpose. You're not aiding anything. You're just adding a level of complexity that doesn't need to be there. So let's drop it. Anyway, I wasn't aware of the band. You were aware of the band. You had checked out the previous album, which came out the year before. And I knew nothing. But Dave Strack, he's like, does not compute. And then when we went to review it, I think you were high on this one. And I think you were surprised that I was higher.
Oh.
And that's just me. Constantly surprising. Never predictable. That's what they call me, non-predictable Duncan. Here he comes. It's a long nickname. I'll work on it. Yeah, like, to me, I listened to this and it was a complete package of kind of shoegazy deftones, massive kind of prog elements, like soundscapes that just went on for days and days and days. The band, my friends, are Resin. The album is Burden, and the record label is Sargent House. This is the follow-up to an album that came out literally a year before. So it doesn't even make sense that the band themselves, I think, said that they recorded it in or around the same time that the decision was made. They would separate it, and having listened to both albums, which have connected tissue not only in its artwork but the themes that construct the albums themselves, it still blows my mind that they were recorded at the same time, because this to me feels like a band continuing that growth development. When you hear bands that usually do like double recordings or, sessions in or around the same time, there's always an element where you're like, all right, I see where you made that jump, or the tracks have a similar sound, or like there's something that fully connects it. Burden is not like that at all. It just has weight and confidence and space. And that's the element of the album that I love the most, is the band will let things ring out to the point where you feel like you might fall into like the gap. They've fallen into the gap. There we are, an ad campaign for a company that doesn't sell clothes. There's like huge space that just appears, and you feel yourself being drawn in before they hit you with this wave of sound back in again, and then you're kind of shook back up. It has that kind of dreamy, woozy, shoegazy sound. Most of it comes through the guitar tones, specifically the kind of reverb, the way it's structured. But it's got some teeth. We mentioned Loathe earlier on. We mentioned them in the context of being on a beach. This is maybe less a beach and more like a tundra, like somewhere cold on a mountainside. But it has that kind of there's weight to what they do, but it never takes the. It never tries to cheat the listener by throwing something in like super aggressive or super heavy, just to give you that kind of one bar heavy section. They hold it relatively close, and as a result, the songwriting feels incredibly tight, even though there are, like I mentioned before, as oxymoronic as it is, it's tight whilst at the same time being very loose with how long things will ring out. Vocally, I love this. This is another one of these ones where vocally it just shines for me. There's such a there's a bit of kind of Alice in Chains in the vocals that I kind of love about it, and not on the gruffer side, but more on the kind of harmonies. And it just, to me, this was an album that when it came in and we did the streaming thing for it, we did the review of it, I was like, I really, really like this album. I'm giving it a 5. I really like it. I'll be interested personally to see how long I come back to it. And it's consistent. It's once a week. It has been once a week since it came in. I find a point where I'm like, it's time to put on Burden again, and I let it wash over me. Another band that is criminally under. It's just got there's so much music, but they're criminally undermentioned at the moment. And another one that's added on the bucket list of bands that I need to see. I think they would be fucking insane live. I just like I imagine like a lot of smoke, a lot of really cool lighting, and just this kind of hazy sound that just washes over you, and the crowd just being oblivious to everything. I just want all of it, and I want it now. So my number 4, and trust me, this surprised me, but my number 4 is Resin Burden, out on Sargent House. If you've not checked out this album, please go and check it out. It's fucking great.
Excellent choice. Okay.
Top 3, Dave.
Here we go.
It's like this is where it get. Actually, I joked. I said, "Oh, this is a serious list." Back to right, kind of serious, but not really. Kind of like your kind of like the middle children. You know what I mean? Where you're like, can forget a birthday here and there, they'll still love me. This is where it gets serious. This is like first child, last child.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So top 3, Dave. We cannot fuck this up. I just want to stress this. We cannot fuck this up.
Yep.
So, best foot forward. If I wince when you mention your band, it's because you fucked up.
Pressure's on. Here we go. Number 3. Now, we've spoken quite a bit at length about a certain metal scene recently over the last 3-4 years that's just on fire right now, and it probably has been for a while, but we've just kind of cottoned onto that just since we started doing this again.
We may be twinning here already. I fucking hate you right now.
I'm talking about the Danish metal scene.
Oh, you hear me, Dave?
There are so many bands that are just flying by over here completely unnoticed from Denmark. One of those bands released a fucking epic back in May. That band is Demersal. Based in Copenhagen and Odense. Not sure if that's how you pronounce that, but
Exactly how you pronounce it.
these guys put out their second album, which was self-titled and self-released.
Yes, it was.
On May 10th. And it is quite frankly fucking incredible. The guitarist was also in another Danish band. Surprise.
Let's work the red web connections between all the fucking Danish bands that we love and how Demersal fits in between it all.
It's so incestual over there. The guitarist was in a band called Telos, another Danish kind of hardcore band.
Yeah.
They called it a day earlier this year, which was absolutely destroying for me because I loved that band.
They also invited us to our farewell gig, and neither me or Dave could find time to go to Denmark. And also, like, we can't bunk with each other in a hotel room because we will molest each other. And Dave needs to see
that's how those Danes do
in
it.
August.
Oh yeah, that shit would be on fleek, Duncan. Absolutely.
I can't wait to get on fleek. What's that? Who? What?
So the guitarist in Demersal, a guy called Victor, was also in Telos. That band's now finished, so Victor is now putting all his efforts into Demersal. They are primarily a kind of chaotic hardcore band, but they also pull in elements of post-hardcore, screamo, even touching a little bit the black metal as well at times. So in terms of sound, very jagged, very contorted rhythmically. It hits like a sledgehammer for the most part, but also an incredibly dynamic album. It has moments of real beauty on it where the band just shift into something more light and post-rock almost inspired, where they're kind of weaving in this kind of varied selection of instrumentation on the album. They're bringing in elements of piano, there's a bit of flute on here, there's a bit of trumpet on here, and those elements just add this absolutely stunning kind of layer of emotion and mood to the album. Almost, and they don't sound like this band, but it kind of reminds me of Death Heaven in a little bit, kind of similarity wise. But this album just has so much going for it. Like, there's so much reward in each listen to this album. Every time I hear it, I'm just kind of blown away by it. So much depth. For a hardcore band, like, usually you're thinking, okay, you kind of know how it's going to sound. It's, everything's kind of on the surface. With this album, this band, there's just so many layers to it. A lot of hardcore bands don't tend to step out of the box really that much. You know what I mean? These guys, on the other hand, are just doing something a little bit different, and I've created an album that not only flows perfectly, but gives you just so much emotion, vulnerability, and straight up violence at times as well. I love an album that can tap into both of those areas, and kind of do it as seamlessly as they do. It's an absolutely stunning release from start to finish. Production is beautiful. They recorded a lot of the additional elements, kind of out with like guitars and drums and stuff at the Royal Academy of Music and the Rhythmic Music Conservatory in Aarhus and Copenhagen. So the quality of the recordings of those instruments is just absolutely ridiculous. It was then mastered by our guy Brad Boatwright as well, which is like another little bit of...
We love you, Brad.
So the sound of this album is exceptional, but musically it matches it perfectly. It's just an incredibly well done album right across the board. Hadn't heard of the band before until they got in touch to say, hey, you reviewed Tell Us, do you fancy reviewing our new band Demersal? I was like, yeah, cool, we'll give it a spin. And like, this is one of the reasons I love doing this, just hearing bands like this that I would never have heard of if it hadn't been for this, for Metal Epidemic. So my number 3 is Demersal and their self-titled album, Demersal, which was self-released. Ross, number 3. Where are you going? Number 3.
You just want to talk about things being fleek or things slaying. This is the album you're going to slay to.
Oh.
It is Coup de Grace by Saskor CU Space Cowboy.
Yes.
Is the sassiest
really good, man.
thing you'll hear
it's
this
really
year.
Fucking good. It's really good. You were joking about it.
Yeah.
You were like, has anyone listened to it yet? And I didn't even know they had a new album out, and Dave was kind of like, yeah, it's really good. And then I was like, wait, don't fucking see about that.
It's very good. It's very good.
I enjoy it.
I've enjoyed...
Say the name of the band again.
CU Space Cowboy. All one word.
CU Space Cowboy. All right, okay.
Yeah, you enjoyed this.
You're no audio cut out for a second. I was like, what was that band name? Right, okay.
The album's Coup de Grace. I had to ask my French-speaking girlfriend how you pronounce it before I came on, so I didn't fuck up.
Everyone knows Coup de Grace.
I was kicked out of French and put in travel and tourism. I did not know Coup de Grace. So
Coup de Grace.
That's what I was calling it all day. And then she told me that's how it's pronounced. I was like, cup for grace. But here we are. This album is fucking dynamite. This is a band I've liked for years. Like, the first album, it was just Connie singing. And then the last one, you had Connie and the guitarist. And then you have Connie, the guitarist, and the bassist doing like a three-pronged vocal attack throughout it. There's also numerous guest spots. You've got Courtney from Spirit Box, got Nothing Nowhere, Kim Dracula, all on it as well. It's just riffs. It's overly wet choruses, which in lesser hands would sound fucking hideous. But they're so in on the joke that they pull it off, because the heavy parts and the kind of panic chords and your 0-0 breakdowns are just so on the money every time. Like, Chewing the Scenery was the first single from it, and my friend sent me it, who's a big CU Space Cowboy fan but is predominantly more kind of black metal guy. He's like their one kind of weakness, and he was like, nah man, I'm out. He was like, this sounds like something the Used would write. I listened to it. Fuck me man, this is the best chorus the Used have written in about 20 years. The chorus on that song.
This guy got that. Like, I've got fucking Emperor, Mayhem, Gorgoroth, CU Space Cowboy.
Yeah. He sent me that song, said he was out, and then next time I worked a shift with him, gave me a CU Space Cowboy t-shirt. He's like, nah, I'm out, mate. It does sound like the Used, but fucking the best song the Used have done in a long time, I'll tell you that much. Like, this is a song has a breakdown. Who needs a mosh call when all you have to say is move? Big riff. Unreal. Like, that's probably for me the best chorus on the album. But Silhouettes in Motion as well. As every CU Space Cowboy album has at least one song that starts with clapping, and this is this album's version of that. We've had this really good sort of mathcore, almost something like Better Lovers would be doing now. Sort of riff that sweeps in after it. It's just it's so MySpace. It's like asking to put you at the top of your friends list. Like it's like Big Tom from MySpace is in the corner with the wee thumbs up profile picture. It sounds like it'd be on Tony Hawk or Burnout or one of these sort of games. It's just, yeah, it's the sound of sculling energy drinks and fingering someone in the park. Like, it's so much fun. This album is honestly fucking amazing. Like, it's not original. It's not kind of what I was saying earlier. It's just songs like in this scene aren't written as well as this is. This is just so well thought out. They're so in on the joke. They're in on the kind of all the moaning in the fucking vocal lines. Like, they really, really play into it, but then it's also fucking vicious when it has to be. So, yeah, I've got a lot of love for See You Space Cowboy, and for me, they're on a crazy run right now. So long may that continue with Coup de Grace by See You Space Cowboy.
Nice. Duncan, number 3.
Oh, we're twinning again, Dave. So, I take you back in a time machine. Let's go back to kind of like 2001, 2002, and I'm going through like the messiest breakup there has ever been of messy breakups. And there's an album that I just listened to that just like fucking struck a nerve. And that was Glassjaw's Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence, which is the ultimate breakup album, right?
Yeah.
Because you listen to that album,
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Like, you listen to it, you're like, this is the like, this guy is speaking my soul right now, and I like every note, every nuance, every lyric, and every delivery is it just fucking captures your emotions and like grabs your heart, right? I've not heard an album that has done the same to me, like in a visceral fashion where I feel every emotional beat of everything until Demersal's like self-titled album. It's raw to the point of licking a battery. You know what I mean? It is like there's something on the edge and just something moderately dangerous about listening to it without it being. It's not extreme. It's not supposed to be extreme, but there's something kind of volatile about it that just kind of makes you feel like you're listening to something you're probably not supposed to listen to, and something that's probably not going to do either your mental health or your emotions any great deed. It's so fucking well put together. It's so fucking raw. It's so emotional, yet it's so carefully constructed that it kind of butts against it. You were mentioning some of those more classical instruments, like the kind of horns and stuff like that come in later on in the album, like reminded me of weird indie music that I've not listened to in a long time, where bands would experimentally play with brass, like for no reason at all except to add a bit of inflection. And there's a vulnerability that comes in on this. The closing track for me is the bit where things just like that is one of my favorite closers this year. Where they get how many vocalists come in on that last song? Everyone,
like 15 or something.
Yeah, it's like the population of Copenhagen like coming at the end. So it's like all these vocalists from all these bands that you listen to from that scene come in and do like various little bits and segments on that closing track, which should sound like it should be like fucking like Feed the World. You know what I mean? Where you're like, this is just shite. And why is fucking George Michael in this song? He's better than that. You know what I mean? You look at it going like that, this is just a hodgepodge of nonsense. But they weirdly craft it in a way that it sounds very cohesive and very raw and very jagged. And I keep coming back to this because it's like I start even talking about it, I'm fucking getting goosebumps. Towards about the 2-minute mark, there's a scream that comes in between things, and you hear a tone and a voice switch from what can only be described as just pain into a scream. And it's like a blip. It's like half a second. It's a millisecond of that in-between thing, and that's the album. To me, that sums up the album. It exists on this emotional tightrope between losing everything and control. And it's fucking incredible, and it's a testament to just how amazing the Danish metal scene is. There's not another country in the world right now that is doing the dexterity music that Denmark is doing and doing it on the level that it is. And yeah, the guys are all in each other's bands, and yeah, they're using the same people recording and all the rest, but they're leaning into their strengths and everyone's supporting each other, and I kind of love that. Metal's supposed to be about like raising each other up. It's not supposed to be about one band selling everything and everyone not having anything left. It's about like kind of the scene gets raised very much like a ship getting raised in rising tides. You know what I mean? Like everything's supposed to come up with it, and Denmark is the prime example of that. And Demersal is one of the more exciting bands from an already real. There's about 3 or 4 other Danish bands we could have mentioned here that are fucking incredible this year, but Demersal have pipped it for me just because it makes me feel at the end of the album I am spent. Like I feel emotionally drained, and I just want to kind of lie down and kind of capture what it is to be myself. It's fucking incredible. It's self-released. Once again, the theme here, if it's self-released, anything you spend on the band goes to the band and throw them money. Yeah, it's fucking great. So it's Demersal, album named Demersal, out on Demersal, and it's my number 3.
Nice. Okay. Top 2.
Top 2. This is where it gets serious.
This is
Fuck
real now,
that.
boys.
3 in the bin, right? Let's get down there.
This is an interesting one because whatever I pick for my number 2 is then going to indicate possibly what I've got for my number 1.
I'm sitting here. I know of one band that I expected you to have mentioned already that you haven't. But I also think that if it appears in your top 2, it's higher than I thought it was going to be for you. So I am, unless I've forgotten about something, which I probably have. There's one other band that I kind of hope is going to be in there somewhere. I don't know where. So it will indicate that. So I'm. There's very few times that I'm super curious when it comes to you. We know each other well enough. I am super curious now. So one of these is going to be like aha, that's where that placed, and the other one's going to be is it that band? And if so, that's higher than I expected. Or it's going to be a band I don't know about. So.
Well, my number 2,
Oh,
I did purchase some vinyl.
Nice.
I can't read anything on that. Right?
Yeah, I'm dyslexic, mate.
I bought a big grey bit of plastic.
Yes, I did. My number 2 is possibly the most grueling listen of the year.
It makes sense. It's not the one that I thought it was. It's the one I've already mentioned. Right, we're on point here, Dave. We're on point. I'm with you. Did you buy this at the gig? No.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Did you? I can't remember that.
I bought a t-shirt and I bought a vinyl.
Nice.
How can I not remember this?
Because we had that conversation of, I'm not buying t-shirts anymore, I'm buying vinyl, and then I bought both.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was like that. It was like, my wife will kill me if I do this, and I was like that. You always get another wife.
You can only get the vinyl once.
You're like, you can only get the vinyl once because when it sells it, there's no more. And Dave's like, you know what, Duncan, you are right. And I believe the exact words were, if your wife says anything, you can always blame me. And
Yeah.
Dave was like, I can't always blame you. So
Yeah, it's pretty grim. I mean, that was the album.
Wow.
artwork is so fucking
Artwork's
cool.
stellar.
Like, honestly,
Yeah.
the artwork is like everything they do. The attention to detail is ridiculous.
I know. Yeah, my number 2 is the latest album from Nashville funeral grind band Null, and their new album As Spoken, which was self-released. Came out on January 26th. Yeah, this is another one where this album really doesn't sound like anything else I've heard in 2024. And the fact that it came out in January, I'm still playing it like fucking almost 7 months later. This is just an incredible release for me. They have managed to fully embody malevolence on an album. Like, they have taken all that was ugly and bleak from Metempiric, which we reviewed, the previous album, and just intensified everything. Like, I think I said on the review, I imagine this is what the depths of hell will sound like. It's just so grim, man. It's even more blackened, even more vicious than before, and it's yeah, they class themselves as funeral grind, but it's kind of like spliced with black metal, crust, dissonant death metal. There's almost like an avant-garde streak to it as well, in the way that they kind of weave in like moments of brass and stuff into these tracks as well. It's just a very nightmarish listen. Even like the guitar tone is just so bleak and ominous. The chord choices are like nothing I've heard this year. Like just utterly devastating. The levels of kind of dissonance on this album, but the way they've leaned further into that blackened side on this album and expanded on it even more really just adds a whole other level to their sound, another level of morbidity to their sound. Vocally, I agree with you. I think this is just kind of unbelievable what he manages to do with his voice.
It's live where I was shocked more because like you can use techniques and you can do trick. You can sit closer to a mic, lean back from a mic, cup a mic. You can do, well, there's all manner of techniques you can do in a recording studio that you cannot fucking do live. And he did it live, and the levels of it's like almost like a snake detaching its jaw to eat a mouse level of how he hits some of those notes, and it's fucking insane to see. How did he describe one of his tones?
I think we called it a blood gargle. I think
a blood gargle is how he described it.
Yeah,
not how we described it. It's like, yeah, it's my blood gargle tone, and we're like, you named it. And instantly we were like, yes, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like someone choking on blood. Yeah,
he is just phenomenal. Like, just sounds like evil incarnate on this album. Just pure savagery from a vocal point of view. Just reaching to new places on this one. Still very gnarly and just really full of like rasp. But the pitch and the tone is just incredible on this album. I love a band that will just, push boundaries as far as they'll go, and Null are all about that. Every album they release just goes further and further into that kind of like depths of hell sound. And As Spoken for me is the most vicious thing they've done to date. I think, it's probably going to be a challenging listen for some people. It's not an easy album to listen to. But the kind of the mood and the atmosphere of this album just instantly clicked with me, and I was hooked in. I also feel this is like another one where I get the most from it when I listen to the whole thing in its entirety, rather than just kind of individual tracks, just to kind of fully appreciate the kind of sonic experience of it. These guys are just so underrated, man. Like, not nearly talked about enough, and seeing it live was just another like a different experience. Like, I already loved the album. Like, I scored it a 5. I couldn't give it any more, but like seeing them live just made me appreciate it even more. If you love just really extreme music that like doesn't confine itself at all, then this is most definitely an album that you should check out. My number 2 is
go for it.
Yeah, my number 2 is Null and As Spoken, which was self-released.
Maybe one of my favourite live like anecdotal stories ever with the homeless fucking sound guy. Thinking for a second, I can just step over and grab my beer as this like section of fucking instrumental music plays, and as he reaches over to get his beer and takes a drink, that's when the band comes in and he visibly sprayed his beer fucking over there, trying to fix all the faders, which like instantly fucking went into the red. Fucking like this. The worst sound guy ever, but the band somehow overcame that. And I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
No. I'd highly recommend seeing them live. They're like just an experience to see. And from the sounds of things, when we did the interview, they've got some like fucking wild shit planned for what's next.
The next album that band releases, if it even comes remotely to what they said, and let's be honest, at this stage, who would doubt them? It could be the most insane thing ever. We could be just sitting here about the fucking balls on these guys to do something like this. Yeah, potential.
Yep. Ross, number 2.
Number 2. We've said it on this show already. It was either today or last week. That this year is Year of the Duels. My number 2 is in fact a duo. It is Joey Valence and Bray in their album No Hands. This album is fucking ridiculous.
No fucking idea. Might as well have been speaking Swahili there. I have no idea.
It's a hip hop album, but in that sort of punk, in that sort of punk kind of way. There's a lot of kind of very Run the Jewels, very Beastie Boys, very Rage Against the Machine type stuff. It's 12 songs.
God almighty.
Yeah, the album cover is outstanding. It is 12 songs, 11 songs about video games, and 1 song about being the baddest bitch in a club.
Fucking love you right now.
I discovered this band at Download Festival last year because I don't know if you guys remember the fucking heatwave that hit that festival that weekend.
Yeah, it didn't hit it this year. Let's put it
No,
that way.
it did not. So we were hiding in a tent because it was so hot, just to get some shade. And this is the band that we're playing, and that's how I discovered them. But this is, like I said, 11 songs about video games, 1 song about being a bad bitch in a club.
I've never been so excited to listen to
It's
something in my
so
entire
fucking
life.
stupid. It's so fun. Like, it has that Beastie Boys kind of character about it, that sort of jokiness. There's like a lyric that's like, when I was 10, I was drinking Shirley Temples. Present day, I'm still drinking Shirley Temples. Like,
Oh man,
it's so ridiculous. There's a Danny Brown feature, who's a rapper I've raved about in this podcast before, who, when they bring him out for his verse, it sounds like they're introducing someone into the fucking Royal Rumble in wrestling. And he's coming down for like a steel chair to cave your fucking skull in. And he comes in rapping bars about fucking being in Halo Xbox parties. Like, it's, the baddest is a fucking Little John song, basically. It is so hype-inducing. Like, it's one of these songs where I let my girlfriend hear it, and she was like, the next time you're sick after a night out, I'm going to sing you the chorus to this song. And I'm sitting there holding the toilet bowl, and she's in the hallway shouting, who's the baddest bitch in this club, as I'm being sick into the toilet. It's Tony Hawk Pro Skater, it's punk, it's rock in elements, but it's just so much fun hip hop. Like, there's a hands in the air party band, like, you're going to someone's house for an after party and it's a bit awkward, you don't know what to put on, what's going to raise everyone's game. This is the album that is fucking getting hit, because from start to finish, the first song is called Bus It on it, but there's about 8 or 9 different bars about eating ass on it. Like, I mean, they're pretty sincere about just fucking tongue punching that thing. Give it a hop to, do you know what I mean? Like, they are all about it.
give it the hawk to.
Yeah, there's a song about John Cena. Why not? Fuck it. If you're going all in,
You can't
go
see
all
it.
in. Like, yeah, shout, like, they're playing Glasgow. They've currently sold out Swedge, which I'm trying to buy tickets for. So shout out Joy
Where are
Vance
they
and
playing?
SWG free.
Dave.
Sold out. This is also self-released, by the way.
Dave, though,
So
this is Dave, by the way.
this is a
Dave's
self-released
like,
self-released band selling out SWG free, which credit to them. Self-produced as well.
Fucking hell.
So the whole album was I don't know how much you know about music production, but the whole album was made on Fruity Loops.
Wow.
So they wrote the album on tour for their last album, so they were only allowed to write songs for it on their tour bus. And that was their challenge for themselves.
Jesus.
And this is what they've I think this is their best thing yet. So yeah, like we're saying about buying merch and stuff, everything you spend on this band is going to the band. So it's Joy Valance and Bray, and the album is called No Hands. Great time.
Kind of excited to listen.
The opposite of the last album you just spoke about. In every possible way.
Cannot fucking wait to listen to this
It's
thing
so
right
good.
after we finish. Right after we finish, man, honestly. Oh dear.
Okay, Duncan, number 2, what have you got?
This might be the only band that's been mentioned 3 times.
Oh,
I think.
If it's what I think it is,
I
then,
think
yeah.
may be wrong. Ross mentioned it first. Dave mentioned it second. And very much like Beetlejuice, my third mention will manifest it here for hand jobs, apparently, according to Dave's note. Dodds the Scadder, year 2, on their own label, 45 Records. The top 2 for me this year was a colossal battle of the duos. Right. And like 2 duos that don't understand the term genre. Genre means nothing. Genre is it's a construct made by the fucking man to keep you down, confine you into neat, packageable, consumable boxes for corporations to fucking sell you. These bands don't play that way. Dogs of Scat are really interesting in that, to me, we mentioned earlier on, there's fucking the grime, there's weird hip hop, there's fucking sludge, there's like heavy as balls riffs, there's new metal. There's also very delicate industrial in there. And it is this thing that they do almost exquisitely, to the point that you like, anyone that ever says to you that heavy music listen to just fucking bleh, and you're like, all right, whatever. There is a point where you want to kick back on that and try and articulate why bands like Cannibal Corpse are really fucking good, because of the musicality that's behind it. But it's difficult to articulate, where they play really fast and listen to all the notes they're playing. It's a hard thing to swing back to someone. Dawson Scatter is the band that I would use almost as the easy flex on that, because the band have a mastery of every genre they play. And it's like, it's not like we're throwing a new metal riff because the song needs a bounce. We mentioned it in a review, and the band kind of almost echoed it when they said about mine and Dave's review, where they were like, that, you get it. And I love when bands say you get it, because it, like, we guess. Let's be honest, Steve. We're literally sitting in isolation going, I think the band is trying to do this. We don't know. We weren't in the room. We have no context. So when a band comes back and says, oh, you get it, I'm like that. I'm on. I under like that foreign language of music you're trying to communicate to me is, translated and understood by me.
Yeah.
And what I said in the review, what they essentially agreed by that statement, was every step the band takes is because the song needs it. It's not let's add like a different element for the sake of doing it. It's because naturally the song has progressed to that next stage, and that's organically the next fit. I mean, you consider how many genres they pull in from to do that, it's almost mind-blowing. It gets to the point where you almost, like, there is no line between disparate genres, and there is, like, everything is connected musically because it's all music. And I know I sound like a hippie right now, but I kind of feel like that's on the level they operate on, and it's awe-inspiring, because there's only two guys here. You mentioned there is no guitar. Like, if you had fucking kidnapped my family, right, and said to me on one listen to this album, is there a guitar on this? And your family will get given back to you if you get the right answer, I would have said guitar. I was that fucking confident. And it almost blew my mind, as someone who understands music production and has listened to more albums than the average person could listen to 3 lifetimes over. There was a part of me that couldn't understand how you could do what they did with the instruments they had. And once again, that's a credit to great musicianship and awesome production. It's an album that flows so fucking well. It has all the peaks and valleys that you want. It has sublime melody and just horribly dank sounding fucking riffage and vocals, and it keeps you going all the way through in a flow that's just incredible. I think this is a fucking it's just so good. It's effortlessly good. And they've already released a single. We played it on one of the podcasts earlier on. Go back and check it. For what the new material might sound like, and they've already said to us privately, and we can mention it publicly, the next material isn't that far away. Like, is there a more exciting band on the planet right now than Dozisgada? Like, when you put it down, when you go to brass tacks, is there a band right now who could release an album where you could genuinely walk into it not having a fucking clue what you would get, but knowing you're going to love it? I don't think there is, and that, as a reviewer, is maybe the most exciting feeling that you can get. So, number 2 for me, pipped only through an album that I've listened to like more times than any human should listen to any album, including their favourites. This is up there amongst Nine Inch Nails album listens for me. But yeah, this is effortlessly good. Self-released. Once again, the theme of this is, if it's self-released, throw them money. Doddsiscadder, Year 2, out on 45 Records, which is their record label. That's my number I'm very excited, Dave, because I think we're twinning. And nothing
How
has made me
cute.
happier because I fucking called it. I called it back like 2 months before the album came out, when I was like, "That this is the best thing ever." Right? So unless you're going to break my heart here and throw a curveball,
This is our third podcast together, and I said it's so cute when you always have the same number one. You're like, no, we never have the same number one. We never have. This is every podcast I've 100%, 100% of podcasts we've done together.
You are the connecting
the same
thing.
number one.
I will stress this: there are more times that me and Dave. It's probably not recorded, but there's more times that me and Dave violently disagree on albums than there are recorded albums where we agree on. You just never get to hear them recorded. But so I'm happy to twin in on this one if this is what I think it is, and Ross can close us out. So
Cool.
rather
Yeah,
than
go for it.
put the gap in. So
number one. Here we go. I mean, when I was creating this list, like you guys, I re-listened to every album that I felt had potential to be in the top 10. And as we've said on many reviews this year, the rule book in a lot of cases has just been set on fire. Just like, get it to fuck. The creativity levels that we're hearing this year are just through the roof. Like, there's been a few albums this year that have hit like new levels of like innovation for me. But every time I listened to this list of albums, there was one in particular that just stood out from the rest, like from everything in my list, and sounded like nothing else but themselves. It's the band's fourth album. And for me, having listened to all their stuff, reviewed the previous album as well, this is their kind of crowning moment for me. My number one pick is from the Reno, Nevada duo 4-Stroke Barn. Their new album, Data Diamond, was released on May 31st via Prosthetic Records. I mean, again, like the other albums that we've mentioned here, there is a full review that goes into like depth on this album. Because,
too much detail, some people have said.
Yeah, it's kind of an album that requires it, to be honest. But briefly, I think on the review, like, I labelled them. I think the press release even labels them as progressive metal, right? A progressive metal duo.
Why not?
And I mean, I feel like,
where else are you gonna go, Dave?
I know what you mean. I feel like it kind of does them a disservice at the same time, calling them progressive metal, because I feel like they're kind of in a genre of their own. Like, yes, there's progressive elements for sure, but I feel like that is just the tip of the iceberg for this band.
Haken are a progressive metal band.
Yes, 100%.
Barton sound fuck all like Haken.
Exactly. So the concept of this album was actually initially 2 EPs. They were going to have one EP which was kind of lighter and more electronic type stuff.
Data.
Another one was going to be super aggressive.
Diamond. It's the toughest material on the planet.
However, they ended up combining both EPs to make Data Diamond. And you can hear that. Like, after I read that in the press release and I heard the album, I was like, okay, I can totally hear that. Like, I can hear the kind of balance between the two that they've merged together. It's an abstract album for sure. Like, no kind of sugarcoating it. My first listen, it fucked my head completely. Like, and I'd listened to a few singles before we did reactions and stuff, but even when I heard the album in full front to back, I finished it and I was like, what the fuck did I just listen to? It took me a while to gather my thoughts on it.
You've got like 2 months of me go like that. Have you listened to it yet? I'm at listen 34 right now, Dave. And Dave's like, I've listened to it once. What are we doing here? Listen it.
And to be honest, I've after we did our review, I went online to see, like, what is the kind of general consensus of this album.
What is the general consensus? I don't know.
It's so fucking split down the middle. It's unbelievable. Like, there are reviews that just don't get it at all. Like, cannot see the kind of the tissue between the tracks and why they take these they add these weird angles to things and melodies, and like just they just don't understand it at all. Then there's other reviews who are on the other side who are just like, this is the greatest thing we've heard. So it's like it seems to be a bit of a Marmite album online anyway. And it doesn't surprise me, to be honest, at all. Like, I feel like this might be an album where you're either going to be like, yep, I'm totally in, or you're like, this is not for me. But for me, like, as much as these tracks are like eccentric and quite off the wall, and at first when you hear it, it might sound like they're throwing everything into a melting pot. But the more I listened to it, the more I kind of figured out that it's very smartly built. Like, you can hear they've taken the fabric from the previous album Classics to an extent, and then meticulously evolved it into something that is, for me, verging on like trailblazing. It has very peculiar combinations in places that I usually wouldn't think pairing something that's kind of avant-garde with an anthemic catchy chorus would work, but Four Stroke Baron managed to combine and make it work perfectly on this album. It's another album that's hugely ambitious, and like even in that short space of time between Classics and now, like the jump is huge. Like what they've managed to achieve between those two albums is ridiculous. This album is full of moments that will make you think like, what the fuck just happened? Like it's one of those albums that it takes you a while to kind of piece it together, but that's also what kind of captivated me about it. It feels almost quite literally alien to begin with, and you'll have not a clue what's kind of coming next on the album, but every listen that I gave this album, I loved it even more. I haven't quite hit the numbers that Duncan has on this one.
Few people have, including the band.
But it is a very Moorish album. It is one that I've gone back to a fucking shitload since we reviewed it. And I just feel like it's Four Stroke Baron have created something very special with Data Diamond. Another very unique album. With Classics, I could still you can still detect certain small influences, like, but I can hear a little bit of that in there. On this, it's very difficult for me to pick out other bands or other sounds that they are kind of influenced by. It's a difficult one to kind of, again, pigeonhole into a specific sound or relate to another artist. There's certain small things, like you will get little bits in the vocals, like I think we mentioned like Tears for Fears and the review and stuff. You'll hear little things, but very difficult. This is kind of fucking amazing, this album. It's hard. I mean, I know we've had a few releases in July, so time will tell if this makes it to my number one at the end of the year. I don't know, but at the moment it's still the best album I've heard in the first half of 2024. So yeah, listen to it for yourself. It's a kind of weird one to try and put into words how it kind of sounds and to describe it, but give it a shot. Data Diamond by Four Stroke Baron is my number one pick at this point in the year. Duncan, do you have a similar number one? Or
yeah, like the first listen. So like I can't stress this. Like while Dave was spent after the first listen and confused and vulnerable, and what year is it? We're just still out of it. Like at the end of I was halfway through the first listen, and I was messaging you that you're either going to love this or you are going to hate this. This to me was like all the weirdness and all the like influences being pulled of 100 Gex that we mentioned the year before, which you did not like. You're wrong on, and one day you will come to the side of me and Ross where you'll understand it's fucking amazing, right? But it was all those it was like nothing was safe. And I like, from that first listen, the further I got into it, the more I felt like the band are just like how Pac-Man gobbles up everything. They were just reaching for absolute everything and consuming it into their sound. Classics was an album that you famously in a review said, I really like it. It's too long, and I feel at times they could go a little bit more eccentric. And the band heard that and then came in with a much shorter album than Classics, where they delivered you shorter album and much more eccentric. This is, I don't know if you leaned into it as much as I'm going to lean into it right now, self-produced, which in itself is like Donna Scanner, self-produced, incredible. Four-Stroke Baron, a million other things happening on top of the music, still self-produced, and it is one of the cleanest sounding albums I've heard this year. It is just fucking immaculate, and they managed to make the synth sounds and parts feel like there's a weird kind of 70s film over it. Like it's almost like a weird, like the score to fucking like some weird like a movie like The Sentinel, which if you ever watched The Sentinel, it's weird. Michael Winner did it. But like this fucking strange abstract 70s horror movie that just like nothing seems right and everything's like strange. There's a film over it that they just weave into their sims. The attention to detail on all the synth stuff is immaculate. Not only the sims they use, but the way they use them in, the dexterity of choice there. The guitar work is, to the layman, might seem a bit basic. To a musician, is fucking incredible. It is bright when it needs to be bright. It's heavy, and those kind of like synced up, syncopated bass drum, like triple picking groove things they do, and the way they structure their songs is phenomenal. Vocally, this is it's earworm after earworm after earworm. Yes, it's heavily affected, but they'll strip it out and give you those clean chorus sections that make you just like go, all right, that's in my head for the next year. And the structure of the album as well is really, really, really clever. It front loads with the singles as well. It front loads a particular sound, which is very commercial, and then like there's a middle section which goes very avant-garde and very experimental, and it plays with a lot of textures and tones and sounds, and then brings it back for a very conventional ending with a track that Dave famously said quotes Earth, Wind and Fire in the closing song. Like, why not? When in Rome. Two guys, one recording studio. A video that was not passed around by kids on bad phones. But it just feels like the band are operating at just a completely different level of just musicality. I honestly think when you listen to this, it is very difficult on the first listen and I was in on that first listen, but I understand how anyone could be like overwhelmed or feel burdened by the extent of what they're doing. And it does take like there are like I am still coming back to this and hearing like an element in the background that just like makes me think, you know, the craftsmanship. I keep coming back to it is literally two musicians doing everything here. And the last thing we mentioned, vocals, guitars, production, and all the rest. Don't sleep on the drum work either. The drumming is like fucking incredible because it's part kind of prog metal avant-garde, but there's other parts where there's electronic stuff coming in, and the way they splice it with the real-time drumming, it's fucking great. I'm of the opinion that it will take something so incredibly special this year to dethrone it, and I'm usually pretty good at calling my favourite album of the year. I've listened to this 68 times. It's a 44-minute album and around that, and I think I was already close to the 50 mark, or not just maybe over, by the time we reviewed it in May. So I've slowed it down now, but I am still consistently listening to it, and will continue to consistently listen to this beyond 2024. It's not a genre. It's not something that's easily to articulate to other people. It's very difficult to recommend. But I honestly think Four-Stroke Baron are maybe the word progressive, like taken not necessarily in a musical term, but in like an abstract, forward-thinking, beyond the box sort of theme. Four-Stroke Baron are maybe the most progressive band I've ever heard, and that I honestly think, I don't think like Dots Scatter, I think they don't see music like everyone else sees music. I think they see music as this fluid concept where everything is connected and you just kind of tap into that, as opposed to here is a metal riff, here is a hardcore riff, here is a punk riff. They just don't appear to operate that way. And as a result of that, as a listener, there's something immensely freeing about listening to something that just doesn't appear to be in any way, shape, or form adhering to any rules, but at the same time totally makes sense. It's never uncomfortable to listen to. It's never jarring, and there's never the point like on a baby metal album when you're listening to it. There's a hip hop section where you're like, "Why are we doing this?" That made any sense. Like almost everything that Four Stroke Baron does feels like it's weirdly fit for purpose, but I don't know how they got to that point as a musician. Yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite albums I've listened to since we started doing what we're doing right now, and I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, Four Stroke Baron, Data Diamond, Prosthetic Records. It was always going to be number one, but I can formally say it's number one.
Nice.
So what we're going to get here?
Mine and Duncan's.
What we're going to get here? Because it's not Four Stroke Diamond, so Stroke Diamond. Four Stroke Diamond, the album that is a parody of the band. Not Four Stroke Baron. So
where is he going with this?
I have not a fucking clue. Like, I'm looking at my list right now, and I don't know.
It's not a weird one. Like, if my number 2 was my idea of a great time, my number 1 is my idea of a really bad time. Really just depressing. Like, you're walking home from work, it just starts shitting it down. You've got in and you're soaking. This is what this album sounds like to me. My number 1 is She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She by Chelsea Wolfe.
Oh,
I think this album.
Listened to this for the first time today.
Mate, how fucking good is this album?
It is fucking so good.
So good. It's actually unbelievable. Like, it's kind of what you were just saying with that last album. As soon as I heard this, came out in February, so as soon as I heard it, I was like, this is the one to beat, and nothing's rivaled it for me.
It's 9 Inch Nails as fuck, but it's Downward Spiral as fuck.
Yeah, Downward Spiral specifically is exactly what I get from it. It's like, she had, in my opinion, one of the best 1-2 punches of the 2010s, like Abyss and Hiss Spun back to back. For me, like, I was obsessed with both those albums. Then the album she had in 2019 I wasn't as keen on, and then she went off and she done Miss Piss, which was her side project, which I fucking loved. And then she was like, I'm taking a year out and I'm coming back, and she comes back with fucking Blood Moon with Converge. So I was like,
yeah, I loved it.
So I was like, if she's been working with Jake Bannon and all sorts, what's her next album going to sound like? And then it's been 4 years and this is what she's given us. I think honestly, it's just the mood of this album. Like, it's like you're stepping through like to the other world in Coraline or something like that. Like, it's just, it sucks you right in. Everything is dark blue and dark purple. It's so fragile. It has that kind of lingua ignota type, like something standing behind you, breathing on you the entire time. Like, it's just so shaky and nothing feels steady at any moment. Like, it sounds like one wrong turn, this entire album falls apart, but it never breaks. Like, it never blinks. It's just it's so emotive, which is everything I like in music. It's the kind of Ross Robinson thing I was saying earlier. Like, pure emotion is what I want in my music. So I like the old Korn albums or 9 Inch Nails. It's just so fragile. Like, the song Liminal on this is so beautiful, but it sounds like, like a crying witch in the forest or something. Like, it's just it's so ethereal is probably the word I've been looking for. It's so ethereal, and it's like these beautiful luscious melodies, and then even when it does kind of crunch, there is a couple of moments where the guitar really like fuzzes itself up, and it just sounds like it's right on top of you, and you need out of this situation. It's like bordering on a panic attack, and then it just stops. Like, it just pulls that tension away, but like, it's always lingering. Like, you know they've done it. It can always come back at any moment, and it's such an intense listen. Like, it's not an album you could maybe listen to 6 to 8 times. Like, it takes a lot out of you to listen to it. But I've always liked that with Chelsea Wolfe. I like that with Abyss and Hiss Spun. It just feels like you're kind of drowning and you're just about to get to the top, and you just can't get that last push above the water. And this might be my favourite thing that she's done. Like, honestly, I think Chelsea Wolfe is so important for our scene, but she's also just, there's not a lot of music that sounds like this. Like, I feel like Lingua Ignota is the only thing I've really listened to that gives me that same sort of shiver. It's also so clean. Like, the production on this album is beautiful. It kind of feels like you're playing a water level of a game or something like that. Like, it's so so luscious and kind of just washes over you at every moment. But the songwriting and the craft on it, I'm so gutted that I'm not going to her gig, because these songs in that venue will be unbelievable.
And she's playing St. Luke's,
St.
isn't
Luke's, which that's the perfect venue for her. Like, the only time I've seen her was in the Academy, which not the right sort of venue for this kind of music.
Yeah.
But honestly, She Reaches Out to She might be the best thing that she's done. It's an intense listen, but it's a rewarding listen. Like we were just saying with that album there. The more I went back to it, I've picked up on new details. Or it's a really good late night headphone album, is the best way to describe it. There's little intricate details, little ear candy sprinkled around that really just adds more and more texture. And it's such a textureful album. So yeah, Chelsea Wolfe is my number one. It's not even been close for me this year. I've still got quite a few albums to catch up on, but if this isn't at the business end of my list come the end of the year, I'll be shocked. I'm obsessed with this album, so check it out. It's Chelsea Wolfe. She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She, and it came out on Loma Vista Recordings at the start of February.
Yeah, I only listened to it today, and the reason I listened to it today is I'm borderline obsessed with the soundtrack. Not the score, but the soundtrack for the movie I Saw the TV Glow, which you're going to fucking love, Ross. Dave is going to be like less impressed. He was too cool playing.
I know she's in
like,
the X soundtrack as well, didn't she?
Yes, like there's fucking shitloads going on with that soundtrack, and it's all quirky and weird and all the rest. But there was a tone about it, and my listen today of the many listens I've done of this soundtrack, it tripped onto Chelsea Wolfe after, and the album cover came out, and I was like, that right, this is not one that I'm aware of. I don't know how I've got through this year without knowing that she's released something.
Yeah, she was doing that sort of acoustic thing for a wee bit, which I was that's where I kind of checked out, and then the stuff with Converge kind of got me back in.
Converge was the last thing I knew that she did, and then I just assumed like she wasn't doing anything, and it flagged up, and I was like, whatever came in, I got like shivers because it instantly reminded me of the Downward Spiral. I was like, I'm going to listen to this today, and got all the way through the album, and it's a fucking great album. I could not consider it in my top 10 because I've only listened to it once. So, but I genuinely thought it was fucking great, and then doing a bit of Google searching earlier on, she is playing St. Luke's. Dave isn't the biggest fan of Chelsea Wolfe, so I imagine this might have to try and either win you over or we ain't going it.
I think I've always been aware of Chelsea Wolfe, and I think I've maybe not went in on the right albums to get me into Chelsea Wolfe.
Yeah,
so maybe this is the one.
Yeah, just listen to Downward Spiral.
For me, this would be a great starting point. Like, kind of work your way this to Hispun to Abyss for me.
There's a King Woman-esque quality to the way that she can.
Absolutely.
Let's put it that way. King Woman over Industrial. Let's just think about it that way. Oh, okay. Oh, Dave.
I'll listen to it.
Good choice, Ross, man. Good choice.
Thank you very much.
Nice. So that is the end of our top 10 of 2024 so far. Let's count down from
to do a list again
till December.
Never have to. What?
Let's count down from 5 to 1 on this part 2 of the podcast. So my number 5 was Grayscale Season and Feel Something New. Number 4 was Dod Siskadar and Year 2. Number 3 was Demersal and Demersal. Number 2 was Null and As Spoken. And number 1 was 4-Stroke Baron and Data Diamond.
My number 5 was Years Until War Is Over by Amigo the Devil. 4 was Twin Flames by Gallo. 3 was Coup de Grace by CU Space Cowboy. 2 was No Hands by Joy Valance and Bray. And number 1 was She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She by Chelsea Wolfe.
Awesome. Duncan?
A lot of connective tissue here. Number 5 for me, Grayscale Season, Feel Something New. Number 4, Resin, that's R-E-Z-N, with their album Burden. Number 3 was Demersal with Demersal. Number 2, Dod Siskadar with Year 2. And at number 1 with fucking bullet, 4-Stroke Baron with Data Diamond. What a year, man. I'm looking at my 10 right now, and I said before we even started recording, I was like, I'm not sure about my list. The back half is like that, but I'm looking at any other year, I would look at that 10 and go, that we've had a fucking incredible year for music. And then I'm looking at the list of bands, because I have a list underneath it of everything that I didn't include. I'm looking at it and it is sheer fucking solid gold.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how we get to the, like, with just July and August of the stuff we reviewed, how we get to December and not, like, completely tear up the list of what we have.
Yeah. There's
My
albums I
list
can't
is
believe
fucked.
didn't make this list. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
When I listen to it, I'm like, oh,
This
this is on
album's
my
not
list.
on my list.
Yeah.
I fucking love that Ish. We spoke about it for about an hour. I fucking love that Ish album. Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol is easily an album. It's the one I listen to in warm downs from runs.
Yeah.
Because it's just like 1-800 eat shit. What I love it. And it's not even to take into account Beaten to Death. Sunrise over like Mortis is a death metal album that I just want to shag. And Job for a Cowboy, which I said
for
at
a
the start of
Cowboy,
the year,
man.
is easily one of the best death metal, progressive death metal albums I've ever fucking heard. And that's just a couple that didn't make the list.
I couldn't believe
It
the
is-
Candy album didn't make my list. I've been listening to that almost
I
every day since it
really
came
like
out.
that.
Yeah.
I
Candy
really
album's
like
got
that.
the 200 Stab Wounds album as well. There's another one that I've got on repeat at the minute.
The one that I thought was going to make Dave's top 10 that didn't make Dave's top 10 was Love Sex Machine.
It was
Oh,
close. It was
It's
close.
I like because Dave was like 2 steps are taking it away on a wee holiday in August. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just Dave in the album. You know what I mean? So-
Yeah, there was quite a few albums kind of playing for the kind of 8, 9, 10 spot on my list, and that was one of them. Love Sex Machine and True was one of them.
How close? Because it came in on the 28th of. It did come in on the 28th of June, didn't it? How close was the Bill Murray album from Making Your? Have you heard this yet, Ross?
I heard it for the first time on Friday. I've
Oh
not
my
quite.
God.
It's not clicked to me yet. I've only heard it once.
Oh, about a million times spun.
I
Like it's
I went
almost
into
at
it with
first
everyone
levels.
telling me this is like he's like one of the best artists out right now. So my expectations were
What?
pretty fucking high.
All right.
So I've only heard it once. I'd never heard a single note. All I knew was it was the guy from Attack Attack. So I wasn't expecting it to sound like that.
Well,
to say
all
the
his
least.
albums sound different. This is the first one where he's
Oh
went.
really? Right.
This is
okay,
the
that
first
makes a
one
lot
where
more
he's went
sense.
country.
Yeah.
Every album has a different theme, so he does
Right, okay.
kind of computer game stuff, R&B stuff, and all the
Yeah.
rest. This is the first album where he's went all red, white, and blue.
Nice. I
but,
listen to it more
yeah.
because again, people who I trust like are obsessed with it. So I
Back
definitely
half
need
of the
some more
album
listens.
was just full of shaggy sax. Man.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh yeah. See, the sax was fucking dynamite.
Baby making music. So yeah, there's so much, and this is us. We are still 5 months from the end of the year, with some genuine heavy fucking hitters still to draw.
Yeah.
I mean, I've given it 3 5-stars in July alone.
Oh my god.
3.
Like everything that Zealand Ardor has done in that pre-release has
Yeah,
got
man.
me
Oh,
in,
fuck's sake.
and that's not to include. Sugar Horse has an album coming out, and
Sugar
those
Horse.
3 singles have been fucking insane. And then just had to a little band, little occult fucking 2-piece band, because we love a 2-piece here called Zetra, are also dropping their debut. And the back half of this year is crazier than the front half, and the front half has been fucking insane.
Yeah.
The end of this year might end me. I might be like, Dave, I'm done.
Man, like,
We may have to do a top
talk
40.
about- yeah.
We may have
You've
to.
still got fucking Nails, you've still got
Nails.
Leprous,
Oh,
you've
Nails,
still
yeah.
got
Leprous has an album.
Leprous, you've got
yeah.
Harriet in
Yeah.
September.
Oh fuck, the Harriet album as well.
That single was fucking
Oh
like
man,
shagging
the single's
material as
massive.
well. Yeah.
Oceano, fucking
Yeah.
Oceano's got an album coming out.
Yep, 40 Watt Sun as well. Obviously,
that 41 song single.
So the like the albums that are still to come out
Yeah, it's
in the
wild.
second half of this year just could change everything.
Everything. Yeah. It's the most. I know it's stressful because we're doing lists, but if you're a fan,
Oh, what a time.
it's the most exciting time to be in
Yeah.
that genre, man. Honestly, it really is. Like, no question. Everything is just. And every new band seems to be pushing the envelope. And like I said before, the fact that this is the first year I'm recognising that there's trends on self-release stuff. It's kind of almost breaking that idea of the need for the record label structure.
Yeah.
Like, you can still get stuff out there, get a fan base, get reviews online, and get traction being a band that does everything themselves in-house. I mean, is there a better time, man? Honestly.
So, yeah, that is our top 10 albums of 2024 so far. But as we said, it could all change. We've still got
Well,
second half
will
of the
all
year.
change. Not could.
Yeah.
Will all change. Like, definitely.
Let us know what you've been digging. Stick some comments in below this. This podcast will be on YouTube, Spotify, all the other places. Stick some comments in. Let us know what you've been listening to. What is your top 10 or top 5 of the year so far? Happy to hear them.
Anything can happen. Dave said this year that he listened to a Judas Priest album and he enjoyed it. Anything. All bets are fucking off right now.
100%.
So don't feel the need to mention obscure shit. If you're listening to the new Judas Priest, put in there. If you're digging the new Kerry King, because it's the closest thing to Slayer that you've listened to this year, put it in the chat. I'm genuinely curious because we're always looking for new things to listen to.
For sure. That is it for us. Thank you for checking out the video and the lists. Keep your eye on the channel for more reviews on YouTube and on the Metal Epidemic website. And we'll be back with our full lists at the end of the year. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
This is all